Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode of iTrack. Well, it looks like Mark Zuckerberg just lost his civil case, and the courts decided that the people are right, so he will be cutting that check. And a lady in Texas just confirmed that an asteroid went straight to her roof. So we're going to take a look at that along with a lot of other interesting clips. But before we do any of that, do make sure to smash that like button for me, hit that hype button, and smash the subscribe button if you're not a part of the iTrack fan, man. And now let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Today, the jury's decision in a major civil trial against Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Jurors in Santa Fe, New Mexico, ordering the company to pay $375 million for thousands of violations of that state's consumer protection law. The jury finding Meta is harmful to children's mental health. Meta tonight denying the allegations, vowing to appeal the case separate from another landmark social media trial underway in California.
But it is a big win for the people because now we see that the courts and the jury are siding with the people.
Grandson found it on the floor. We heard a big boom, and when I was in my bedroom, and I didn't know what it was. So I told my grandson to go see what it was. He come back and said, "You have a hole in the ceiling." And I'm like, "What?" And so I come over here, and first thing I was mad. I'm like, "What didn't come through the ceiling?" But then when I saw the hole, then I saw the piece on the hole in the floor, and this, and then I saw the rock, and I'm like, "Oh no," I said, "that looked like a meteor piece." So that was the first thing come to my mind. It was a meteor.
Thank God it wasn't any bigger than that, and thank God it didn't even hit anybody. Because even though it wasn't that big, that still could have took a life.
All right, it's official. We have a date. So as we know, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has been teasing a major announcement that she feels will impact the entire nation. In an interview, she was also asked if it was aliens, and she mentioned she thought it was bigger than that. At first, many people's minds went straight to full disclosures happening, and then it changed to, well, what's bigger than aliens? But as I mentioned before, I don't think it's specifically about aliens or interdimensional beings or full UAP disclosure, but my best guess, perhaps a newly formed disclosure division, a government office, is set to officially handle how UAP information is released to the public. This is happening, but the real question is, what's on the menu? Are we about to get a nothing burger, a little bit of an info, but with a whole lot of mystery left out? Or are we getting a Whopper? Let me know what you think.
Yes, indeed, there is a ton of speculation, but I still believe that we'll hear something by the end of the year. But if you know something I don't, definitely drop it in the comments.
18 states that have removed degree requirements: Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Alaska, Colorado, Utah, North Carolina, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Nevada, Washington, Kentucky, Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, and Minnesota all have removed degree requirements from upwards of 80% of their state jobs. So all of the ones that it's completely unnecessary for, like park rangers, for instance, is a good example of that. Not national park rangers, but state park rangers, because that's ridiculous.
That's pretty wild. You know, all those states are saying, without saying, your degree really means nothing to us. If you can work, we'll let you work. And that's kind of crazy considering a lot of people are still in debt many years after they complete their college degree.
This is King Solomon from the Bible. He supposedly possessed a ring called King Solomon's Seal, which gave him the power and control over demons. The story goes that King Solomon used these demons to help him build the first temple of Jerusalem. This ring gave him total command, and the legend says that the demons were such efficient builders that no iron tool or hammer was ever heard on the temple site. So was it a case of divine wisdom, or just another fairy tale? Let me know what you guys think down below, and follow me for more real life mysteries.
That's not a strange thing to find in the middle of the desert. Just gonna go.
Have you ever wondered what the word goodbye actually means? Like, what does bye even mean? Because on its own, it's not really a word, it's a fragment, a leftover piece of a much bigger sentence, God be with you. A few hundred years ago in England, people didn't say goodbye. They said, God be with you. Because leaving wasn't casual, travel was dangerous. You didn't know if you'd ever see someone again. So every time people parted, they spoke a blessing. Now watch what happens. God be with you becomes God be with you. then God be you, then goodbye. And eventually, just bye. Here's the part most people miss. We kept the word, but forgot the meaning.
So effective April 20th, 2026, the Army is raising their enlistment age from 34 to 42. And I'm not joking. They're saying that starting April 2026, you can now join the Army up until the age of 42 years old. Again, that age used to be 34. And I'm guessing you don't believe me, right? Look at this shit. When you're in doubt, Google will help you figure it out. Look at this right here. So all of a sudden, people who were considered too old are now young enough to go serve. That's a big jump. That's not a small change. And I'm looking at this like, what changed? Because the requirements didn't magically get easier. It's not like this job is getting any safer. They're at war right now. So why expand it for? And you guessed it. They either need more people or they need more people. We already see what's going on in Iran. We already see what they're doing right now. So apparently they're planning for something bigger. Because you don't just wake up and say, yeah, let's add 10 more years to the limit. That's not random. Mind you, now they're saying that if you smoke marijuana, you're good. I can remember before, if you smoke marijuana, you can't get in. So basically, it seems like they're doing anything to get people in. This is one of those times where I say I'm glad to be the age that I am. But listen, crazy thing is, it's a lot of people who love to see this right here because they want to go fight. But it's some people who not going for this bullshit. Which one are you?
Just hope that whole situation in the Middle East gets cleared up real fast. Them opening those requirements so wide. I mean, we can't just have anybody on the front line.
Somebody showed me a basement that's scarier than mine.
Hello. This is my submission for the Scary Basement Contest. This is where I come to do my laundry, which isn't really scary until you open any one of the doors along the basement walls. Let me just show you what's behind door number 1. Well, would you have a look at all that? Door number 1 features a room full of antique junk that's been here for probably 100 years or more. So much antique junk that although I grew up in this house, I just found out in recent years that there's actually another room past the wall of said antique junk. Door number 2 is going to require some flash. I'm not brave enough at the moment to step inside, so you're gonna just have to trust my word when I tell you that there's a trap door that drops down from the ceiling in the back corner. Alright, what about door number 3? Huh. Yeah, that one is just a concrete wall built in front of the doorway for some reason, which... okay, but we did find some creepy stuff in there. And lastly, let's have a look behind door number 4. No, your eyes didn't deceive you. Those were little hallways along the foundation of my house. Now, my basement isn't just creepy because of all the junk, which yes, I am trying to clean out, and if you've seen my videos before, you might even notice some improvement over here, but it's also creepy because of all the hidden spaces, the creepy things I've found down here, and the creepy experiences I've had. So, it's just a whole lot of creepiness down here.
If you want to keep that thing as a pet, be my guest. But first, there's some things you should know. Meet the fang-toothed moray eel. It's basically a fully carnivorous sea serpent with a mouthful of broken glass. Not to mention, according to some reports, they have a 900 pound per square inch bite force to go along with those daggers. Oh, and their teeth? Yeah, they face backwards. That way, when they grab their prey, it ain't going nowhere. And this is where things get weird. Inside their throat, they have a second set of jaws with a second set of teeth. And these jaws can protrude forward and help grab their prey and pull it down their throat. Come to think of it, that sounds really familiar. Anyways, what makes it even worse is they have absolutely no predators. That's because they have this really thick slime substance inside their body. And if any creature were to bite into them, they would just get a mouthful of slime, which would cause them to choke and retire from taking in oxygen permanently. Moral of the story, I don't think that swimming doctor's office would make a really good friend. Maybe leave it there. And as always, follow for more facts.
Hey, so far on my channel, that has to be top 3. Easily top 3 creepiest sea creature. Definitely let me know if you agree or not.
The United States is now asking Iran for a 1-month ceasefire in exchange for them reopening the Hormuz Strait.
Things I'm scared to do now that I've learned about them in medical school. Reheating day-old rice. Walking barefoot in the grass. Getting into any type of hot tub. Literally any part of pregnancy. Putting a tampon in for more than 3 hours. Sitting for too long in a flight. Being around cat litter. Eating raw oysters. Swimming in a lake. Let me know what you guys are afraid to do.
Now, if you saw the segment of the guy who owns a pool cleaning business, I would have to agree with her about the jacuzzi and even the pool, man. Any public pools or jacuzzis, you are risking it all getting into one of those.
Just 20 people in the world control $3.8 trillion. That's nearly 20% of all billionaire wealth held by less than 1% of the world's billionaires. Much of that wealth comes from owning massive stakes in some of the world's biggest companies and watching those valuations surge, from AI companies to consumer giants. On this year's Forbes Billionaires list, there are now 20 people worth $100 billion or more, up from 15 last year and none just a decade ago. Leading the pack is Elon Musk, whose net worth has surged past $800 billion, driven by the rising value of the companies he owns. And this level of wealth is hard to lose. Everyone in the $100 billion club last year is still in it today. Even newcomers are joining fast, like Nvidia's Jensen Huang, now worth over $150 billion as AI continues to boom. It's a concentration of wealth the world has never seen before.
But also, we're living in a time where if you're not lazy and you can be self-motivated, you can go get a bag yourself. So it's an equal opportunity time if you know what you're doing.
This extremely rare glass octopus was caught on camera during a deep-sea expedition near the remote Phoenix Islands, over 3,200 miles north of Sydney, Australia. Filmed by an underwater robot, the creature is almost entirely transparent, with only its eyes, optic nerves, and digestive system visible inside its fragile, gelatinous body. Living thousands of feet below the surface, glass octopuses are one of the ocean's most elusive species, being rarely ever seen by humans. Scientists believe this transparency helps it avoid predators in the pitch-black depths, making sightings like this one incredibly rare. This is what it looks like when an iceberg flips and reveals its underside. That deep blue that's emerging isn't from the ocean, but the iceberg itself. Over thousands of years, the snow was compressed so tightly it lost its air bubbles, so instead of scattering light, it absorbs most colors and reflects blue. When it flips, it exposes that dense ancient ice, creating that otherworldly glow. This flower is called the Queen of the Night, and it only blooms for a few hours once a year. All year long, it looks like a plain cactus, but on that one night, it suddenly opens into a massive flower with a strong, sweet scent meant to attract nighttime pollinators. By sunrise, it's already wilting, making the entire bloom easy to miss unless you're there at exactly the right time.
A wild rumor going around that we have officially reached AGI, and if that were true, it would change everything. Now, if you don't know what AGI is, it is artificial general intelligence, not just smart AI, but intelligence that can reason, that can learn and plan like a human being. Basically, something that can think on its own. Now, here's the truth. According to companies like Google, we're not fully there yet. But the fact that we're even close should grab your attention. Because the Bible already warned us thousands of years ago that something would be created that can speak, that can think, and that could influence the world. In the book of Revelation, it speaks about an image that is given breath and having the authority to enforce laws. Think about that. Thousands of years ago, before technology ever existed, and now we're seeing systems built that mirror that reality. I'm not saying that this is it, but I am saying we are getting closer to what the Bible describes. And if that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will. We're not just living in the last days. We are living in the final moments of the last days.
NASA said it's canceling plans to deploy a space station in lunar orbit. Instead, it will build a $20 billion base on the surface of the moon that astronauts can occupy. Construction will occur over the next 7 years.
We've got some weird things happening in the world right now. Matt Damon has now said publicly that Netflix is influencing filmmakers to restate plots multiple times in dialogue and place large action scenes at the beginning of movies because so many of us are just looking at our phones while watching. There are cities all over Europe that are paying residences rent or giving them stipends for helping in certain ways because so many communities are shrinking and they need new people to come live there just to survive as a community. The world world's top alcohol companies have lost almost $1 trillion in value in the last 4 years because people are just not drinking as much. The Black Ops 2 map of Nuketown 2025 is now set in the past. Gen Z is now showing up to church more than any other generation did at the same age. Sony recently filed a patent for a TV that won't stop showing you ads until you stand up and say the brand's name out loud. My name's Adorian, follow me to stay in the loop.
Standing up and saying the name in order to skip the ad seems a bit controlling.
Okay, right now it looks like Australia is going to be the first domino to fall, unfortunately, in this fuel crisis, which is quickly getting out of control. 90% of Australia's fuel comes from Asia, which it gets from the Middle East. 42 gas stations have no fuel at all. 107 have run out of diesel. And someone goes on to say how ridiculous this is because in the 1970s, Australia produced over 70% of its fuel. They're also telling Australians to drive slower, to work from home, and to avoid air travel. Now, you remember, a lot of this stuff is first a suggestion, and they're worried about fertilizer, of course, and diesel. But a lot of this starts as a suggestion, and then it turns into something else, if you remember what happened in 2020. Then Trump said if Iran doesn't fully open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, and he posted this last night, then he will hit their power plants and obliterate their power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Now, I can tell you, I'm pretty sure the Strait of Hormuz is going to remain closed. Because if it stays closed, we end up in an energy crisis. And it seems like if we get in an energy crisis, then by 2030, we will all be driving electric vehicles or public transit electric vehicles, which I'm pretty sure they wanted to do. So it seems like there's a problem right now, which is going to have a reaction, and the solution is going to help achieve all the 2030 goals in the first place. Isn't that an interesting problem to have that results in the solution of the thing that they wanted to do anyway? I wonder if there's something more to that. Now, I would say like stockpile gas and food and all this, but dude, this is going to last a while. Even if you had a year's worth of fuel for your vehicle, this thing is likely. Think of it. It was supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and it was 2 years. Now, this is temporary war measures that they're talking about, reducing fuel or restricting fuel usage and all that. But wars last decades. So just keep your head on a swivel and don't take the mark, because that's coming at some point too.
Hey, all the iTrack fam and Ozzy, tap in and let me know if it is that deep, because everything he was saying seems to be what's being brought to most of social media right now. So that is pretty wild.
We are under attack. What if I told you that somebody knew that Refinery was going to explode before it even happened? Not just that, he also decided to post it on Twitter. Oh yeah, and there's a lot more, but we'll get into it. It reminds me of the Charlie Kirk scenario, right? Because somehow people knew beforehand, and so much as to even post on Twitter that it was going to happen, just like the Refinery. So with this Refinery, we already have people saying, oh, it was a normal explosion and it's already covered, everything's fine. If that were true, then how did this man right here know and literally post about it like an hour before it happened? Oh, and by the way, completely unrelated, obviously, right? They changed the enlistment age from 34 to 42. And they're also waiving a whole bunch of stuff from 2019, 2020 to get people back in the military. I wonder why that could be. And every time the president says it's good or we won or we got it worked out, they start sending bombs right when he says it. So back to the Refinery thing, I think it's odd. I've seen like 5 to 10 factory explosions in the United States over the last 2 weeks alone. What's been going on the last 2 weeks? What do you think? Who the crap is this? Something's up, and I'm not talking about all those meteors you're seeing either. What do you think?
User says, in my dream, I'm always in a hotel, a mall, a warehouse, or resort, always trying to escape or hide from something. So all those locations are different things. The order would be warehouse, which is about prior to coming to life, a hotel, which is about birth and coming into the world and your reception at birth. How does that change you? Malls are about needs, addressing your needs, like we go to the mall or the store to pick up whatever it is we need. And then a resort is reminding you that everything you need in life is already provided to you, and also that it's not all about working hard. You're meant to enjoy yourself and have fun while here too. But trying to hide from someone or escape means that there's something going on. The hiding is about, I suppress my feelings. I don't want people to see who I am. And that comes from something that happened earlier in your life, because that's something that you need to work on. Being okay, being yourself, and not changing to accommodate the people who are around you.
Left-brained, you'll see a frog. If you're right-brained, you'll see a giraffe. So which do you see?
I know I can't be the only one that saw a horse mixed with a bunny.
This is the best value for money car you can buy on the planet right now. And it has a drone mounted on the roof. It was made by DJI, BYD and Hyundai together. 1,200 kilometer range when it's fully topped up and charged. It's amazing. And it's made for off-roading. 700 horsepower, 738 horsepower. And an off-road dream.
Fun fact of the day. Frito-Lay released a Cheetos-flavored lip balm in 2005.
Now, I know Frito-Lay understands that they crossed the line with that one. I mean, that's pretty disgusting.
Now, I'm confused because everybody is concerned about their age, but I'm more concerned that Han Solo has been dating Ally McBeal this whole time?
Matthew McConaughey just did something every celebrity will copy. He doesn't just own his name, he literally owns the pitch of his voice and the timing of his smile. This makes him the first actor who is legally impossible to deepfake.
The president has said he does not plan to put boots on the ground, but the soldiers of the 82nd are trained to parachute behind enemy lines. Their deployment, on top of 4,500 Marines and sailors, expected to arrive in the region this week. It comes as the president and Iran send clashing messages about whether they're negotiating, Trump insisting they are.
The leaders are all gone. Nobody knows who to talk to. But we're actually talking to the right people, and they want to make a deal so badly.
Iran says that simply is not true. But today, Trump cryptically noting that he knows Iran is going to make a deal because they just gave the U.S. what he calls, quote, a very big present.
Why is nobody talking about the fact that there are parts of Hawaii that's literally underwater right now? And if it weren't for people posting about it, we probably wouldn't even know what's going on. They're saying that this is the worst flooding that Hawaii has seen in 20 years. Heavy rains and floodwater have already forced thousands of people on the north shore of Oahu to evacuate over the weekend, and even in parts of Maui. Floodwater was so bad that it lifted houses and cars and even swept through farms and grocery stores and was even contaminated by septic tanks, leaving people in Hawaii with little to no clean water or food. Hawaii's governor stated that the storms had already caused around $1 billion in damages, leaving many people without their homes. More than 200 people were rescued from floodwaters, and many people and animals are still at risk of losing their lives, and it could get worse as they're saying that the Wahiawa Dam is at risk of going. Please spread this news so that the people of Hawaii can get the awareness and help they need. Let me know what you guys think about this, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
If you want to know what's really hitting the ground, you need to bookmark this link, fireballs.ndc.nasa.gov/skyfalls. Look at the entry from Saturday, March 21st. NASA officially logged a 1-ton mass hitting Texas at 35,000 miles per hour. They call these Chicken Little events. That's their internal term for objects that survive re-entry and hit the dirt. This specific strike released energy of 26 tons of TNT right over Houston. Now look what happened yesterday at Valero Refinery in Port Arthur. A massive explosion rocked the coast. Neighbors didn't just hear a blast, they felt a shake like an earthquake. The official story is a heater malfunction, but the timing is a massive red flag. NASA usually updates this database every morning at 8 a.m. We're waiting for the log from 6:28 p.m. yesterday. That is exactly 2 minutes before the Valero explosion was reported. If a secondary so-called asteroid hit the marshland near Port Arthur, it would trigger the exact seismic vibration the neighbors reported. NASA is currently pushing a once-in-a-century story about the moon impacts. What do y'all think? Keep this site bookmark. If the log for the Port Arthur window finally drops, we'll know if it was a heater or if the sky is falling faster than they can de-index it. Keep your eyes up.
A man was just detained for breaking into Area 51, claiming that he worked for NASA and that he was investigating a time anomaly. Yeah, so this is a wild story from newly released body cam footage showing a man who tried driving past security at the Area 51 back gate back in January 2026, and this happened in the middle of the night. Which, if you didn't know, Area 51 is one of the most heavily guarded military installations on the planet. Like, if you put a foot over the gate, you're getting locked up or worse. And what he told the officers that stopped him is crazy. Basically, anytime they asked why he was there, he claimed that he was a contractor for NASA, and he had driven out there because of this time dilation anomaly. And he was saying this in a totally calm manner. He didn't come off as confused, and actually had 3 government badges on him. One for NASA, one for something called the Redstone Arsenal, and one for Army Material Command. Check this out.
Sounds weird, strange, but it's true.
This is part of a time dilation facility, and we are experiencing this now.
Yeah, that's time dilation, Einstein's theory of relativity, and he's saying that he's experienced this kind of loop multiple times. Now, Dispatch couldn't confirm if his credentials were fake or not, but they found this report of this same guy trying to get into the Nellis Air Force Base in Vegas the month before. Now, obviously none of this is confirmed, and if this guy even works for NASA or not, or who he really is, but this footage is real, and the way he's talking doesn't sound like he's making things up in his completely calm demeanor, but who knows? Eventually this guy is released, and he tells the deputies there that he'll be back again on the same date, like he's stuck in this loop. So was this guy just making up this story, or does he know something that the rest of us don't?
Well, if all goes according to plan, you are going to be the first astronauts to travel to the moon in more than half a century. What's going through your minds?
Don't screw it up. I'm joking, but partly not joking, you know. But I think the real thing today is what it took to get that rocket out to the pad, and so I hope our team is celebrating this because it's a big part of, you know, the next thing to come.
The United States has been to the moon several times. Why is it important for us to go back?
So many countries right now are realizing the value and what we can bring back by going to the moon. The industry gains, the knowledge gains, the scientific gains, the inspiration gains. There's so much to gain that I'm happy that we are leading the way back.
The United Nations has warned that the world's climate is now more out of balance than at any other time in recorded history, and said more record-breaking heat waves are in store later this year. The World Meteorological Organization said the last 11 years were all the warmest years on record, thanks to emissions of harmful gases like carbon dioxide. The UN Chief Antonio Guterres said planet Earth is being pushed beyond its limits.
This is the second time now our curious friend Pete has worn this logo on a shirt, and that logo is Stone Island Apparel. If you type Stone Island into the search bar of the files, the only thing that comes up is this, a site plan to Little St. James Island. Maybe Pete's just having a little bit of fun with us, but this is the third time now that we have found the logo on his shirt to be symbolic.
Hey, mark my word. Hey, Palm Beach Pete is going to mess around and find out. I'm telling you. He's playing with fire, man.
If you're watching this, one of two things happened. Either the rapture that was scheduled for the 22nd got postponed again, or it happened and you didn't go. Either way, we need to talk about the rapture, because it's one of those things that feels like it's been around forever, but was actually invented in the 1800s by a guy who fell off a horse. The idea was popularized by an Irishman named John Nelson Darby, and he was a lawyer, but then he quit that to go around telling Catholics they should leave the church and join the Church of Ireland instead. And then, when he fell off a horse and got a horrible concussion, he started coming up with some new religious ideas. He took those ideas to the Plymouth Brethren, which was either a cult, a sect, or just like a cool religious book club, depending on who's writing about it. While there, he did a bunch of amateur translations of the Bible and started telling everybody about his theory of the rapture. You see, the church had a problem. Some Bible stories describe a great unpleasantness to come, and the people who believed in that were like, but I'm one of the good ones. So fresh off his horse concussion, Darby was like, great news, you don't have to go through the unpleasantness because right before it starts, you and me, we're going to get medevaced. It was convenient, so it caught on with certain religious sects or book clubs or cults, and it especially became popular in America, where it led to one of the worst written book series of all time, which was made into a movie and then remade into a movie that was so bad even Nick Cage couldn't make it the good kind of bad. Next time you see an announcement about an upcoming rapture, I want you to think of two things. One, there are better Nick Cage movies to watch, and two, you have to be very careful if you ride a horse.
They are now saying that if you have a flight out of the U.S., either nationally or internationally for next week, or scheduled for next week, it is highly recommended that you leave yesterday.
Goes on record and admits she regrets doing this with Justin Bieber when he was just a child, 16 years old, and she was around 30. Check out this clip.
What is something you probably should have gotten canceled for but didn't?
I know what it is, and I think I'm going to get canceled if I say it.
You're like, I'm not bringing that back up?
Like, I don't know who approved this, and I don't know who thought that this was normal, this narrative, but I did a photo shoot with Justin Bieber, and he was 16 years old, and I don't know how old I was, and it was like a play. His girlfriend was there, his parents, I mean, it was like nothing creepy at all, but I look back, and I'm like, that's the one thing that I feel like, you know, he's like a good, dear friend of ours and the whole family, but like, who thought that that was a good idea? You know, I must have been 30 years old. You know?
I could see that. I could see that getting murky.
But it was a story of, what's that story with the teacher and the student? The graduate.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I just feel like that was nothing ever weird.
She's doing the whole double talk thing. She says there's nothing weird going on, but then she feels bad about it. Which one is it?
So many things that NASA did that we just moved on from way too quickly. First up, I got that time when they moved an asteroid. Like literally its orbit is different now. They moved it. And while we're speaking of asteroids, there was also that time where they landed on an asteroid and collected a sample and brought it back to Earth. And you know what's craziest of all is that spacecraft is still in space, ready to do it again to another asteroid. They didn't have to build another spacecraft. It's just ready to go. And there's the fact that we just have close-up pictures of every single planet in the solar system. They finished doing that. They were done doing this in the 80s. And the craziest part is they didn't even stop there. They're like, you know what? Let's start taking pictures of planets in other solar systems. While they're busy directly imaging planets in other solar systems, they also use the transit method to find dozens of planets that might have life on them. Literally finding a rocky planet in the habitable zone around another star is like no big deal anymore. And while we're talking about taking cute pictures, can we talk about the fact that they have photos of the sun setting on another planet? Cool, the sunset is blue on Mars. Why do we know that? Oh, and speaking of Mars, did you know that they found the best evidence of alien life ever on Mars? That story just came and went. Aliens, it was just like 1 week it was there, the next it was gone. And while this next one wasn't technically NASA working alone, can we talk about the fact that they helped turn the entire Earth into a telescope to take a picture of a black hole? There's also the fact that they threw a spacecraft into the corona of the sun. It's also the fastest man-made object ever built. And all of this is just scratching the surface, not even 1% of the stuff they've done.
NATO is using live cockroaches as AI-powered spies. Think cockroaches attached with an electronic backpack that is supercharged with AI hardware, carrying cameras, sensors, microphones, radars, all sending data back in real time. So the next question is, how are they controlling the cockroaches? These cockroaches are steered by sending electrical signals to the nervous system, and they coordinate in swarms, creating a mesh network. And the combination of the data will then give you so much intelligence. What makes these cockroaches so useful is the fact that they are silent, nearly undetectable. You can't hear them. You can barely see them.
Hey, that's creepy and genius at the same time.
Just last night, Elon Musk announced Terafab, the largest chip manufacturing facility ever built by a massive margin. And for this project to work, he's bringing together Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI all in one joint venture for one goal. They're gonna build 1 terawatt of AI compute per year. Now, to give context, every chip fab on Earth only produces 20 gigawatts per year. And so Elon wants 50 times that. And so you're thinking to yourself, why does he even need this much compute? Well, he explains it here.
Current output of AI compute is roughly 20 gigawatts per year. This chart explains why we need to build the Terafab, because all of the rest of the output from Earth is about 2% of what we need. So if you add up all the fabs on Earth combined, they're only about 2% of what we need for the Terafab project. We certainly want our existing supply chain expand as quickly as they can, and we will buy all of their chips. We need the chips, so we're going to build Terafab.
Now, in this presentation, he also gives context to his ambition with the Kardashev scale, and we're not even type 1 yet officially. And so what his point is that the compute wars isn't about who has the best models anymore. They're about who controls the infrastructure to run a civilization at scale. Terafab's gonna happen all within one massive building in Austin, and it's gonna handle every stage of chip production all under one roof. Design, fabrication, packaging, testing, and that'll let them iterate in days rather than months. And they have 2 chip lines, one that's doing inference chips for Optimus and Tesla vehicles, and another chip line that's gonna be about harnessing compute in space. And because 80% of Terafab's compute is going to go into orbit, they're going to have solar-powered AI satellites connected by lasers running 24/7 with no grid connection. His projection is that space-based AI will become cheaper than terrestrial AI within the next 2 to 3 years. And when you really do the math, it really comes down to the costs for the tonnage that you could bring up to orbit. And since SpaceX controls 90% of the upmass, they control that lever. Then he starts talking about the moon mass driver. It's this massive electromagnetic launcher using the moon's low gravity, and so they don't need rockets or fuel, and it's just shooting AI satellites into orbit. So a terawatt of energy is the start, but they can eventually go to like petawatts, which would be like thousands of times more. All right, now this is starting to sound like serious sci-fi, which makes sense because Elon always references his Ian Banks culture series. Post-scarcity, galactic civilizations, humans free to do whatever they want. And so of course I started reading the culture series to find out what this looks like. And if you read it already, can you please put it in the comment and let me know, is this a good future? To be honest, for founders, just seeing someone with this level of ambition should be inspiring. I mean, realizing that compute is no longer about who has the best models and being able to play it all the way out to harnessing the sun's energy in order to drive down the cost of compute. Nvidia owns the chips today. Big tech owns the cloud. Elon is now trying to own this third layer, all the way from Austin to orbit to the moon. And I think now it's in everyone's interest to start reading Ian Banks' The Culture series, because I think we're gonna need the reference material.
Yes, there is definitely a lot of homework to be done because some things don't quite add up to me. You know, the final outcome or the goal of this whole mission can't just be monetary. They're pushing to be first for a reason, and I'm willing to bet that that reason is a lot deeper than the average Joe can even comprehend. Well, you guys, see, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for always stopping by, watching, and learning with me. If you haven't already, do make sure to smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button if you're not a part of the iTrack fam. And hit that hype button for good measure, and I will definitely catch you on the next one.